section 4 on multiplication. Before you continue watching, make sure to subscribe and like. So today we're going to cover basics of multiplication, repeated addition, key terms, and the tips and tricks to multiplication. So we're going to start off with the basics of multiplication. And before we start on anything related to multiplication, we're going to learn about the difference between a sentence and equation. You might be wondering, why do I need to know this? Well, if your teacher asks you what's the difference, you'll know the answer. So a math sentence is basically a math thing without an equal sign. For example, we have a multiplication sentence, which is 6 times 5, and that's it. However, on the other hand, an equation has an equal sign. And for example, 6 times 5 equals 30. So that is an example of a multiplication equation. And using 6 times 5 equals 30, we're going to learn about the parts of a multiplication equation. Starting off with 6 and 5, these are called factors. And that's a multiplication sign. And some people write them differently. For example, they can use a little dot, an asterisk, or they use parentheses for multiplication. It depends on the person. So there's our equal sign, and 30 is called the product. The product is the answer to a multiplication equation. So now we're going to move on to repeated addition, which is basically multiplication. It's just another word, except we prefer multiplication because it's a bit simpler to say. So repeated addition is when we're repetitively adding something to itself. That's basically what multiplication is. So let's start off with something simple, 2 times 3. There are 2 rows, and for each row there are 3 dots. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And basically, if you're thinking repeated addition wise, 2 times 3, to solve it, you're adding 2 to itself 3 times. So 2 plus 2 plus 2. 2 plus 2 is 4, plus another 2 is 6. So 2 times 3 is 6. And as you can see here, there's 6 dots. Now something a bit bigger. 4 times 5. There are 4 rows, and for each of those rows there are 5 dots. And counting them out, which I'm not going to do, we get 20. But repeated addition wise, 4 plus 4 is 8, plus another 4 is 12. 12 plus 4 is 16. 16 plus 4 is 20. And so 4 times 5 is 20, which is the same here, so that's our answer. So now we're going to move on to key terms. You may not realize it, but key terms play an important part in problem solving. They help, when you read a problem, they help you understand what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. Without them, you'll be confused on if you're going to use addition, subtraction, multiplication, or addition. So the ones for multiplication are each, product, multiply, times, per, and area. The most common of all of these is each. Most multiplication problems will have the word each. And here's a quick problem solving tip. If you are doing word problem, it's helpful to underline or note some important things like the number of people that it says, or the number of anything that it says, and the key terms. It'll remind you what you're doing and how you're going to do it. Now we're going to move on to some tips and tricks for multiplication. The ones that we're going to use tips and tricks for are 0, 1, 5, 10, and 11. Let's start with 0. The only thing you need to know is if you multiply a number by 0, you're going to get 0. 0 times a million, 0. 0 times a million and 1, 0. 0 times 1, 0. 0 times 0, 0. 0 times 29, 0. Anything you multiply by 0 will give you a 0. So for practice, 5 times 0 will equal 0. Now moving on to 1. 1 is like a mirror. You get what you see with the same thing. So 5 times 1, 5. A million times 1, a million. A billion times 1, a billion. 1,000 times 1, 1,000. 32 times 1, 32. You get the same thing back. So 21 times 1 is going to give you 21. 5. This is more of a tip of what not to do or what you shouldn't get. whenever you multiply by 5, your last digit, your units digit, has to be a 0 or 5. If it isn't, you know you did something wrong. 5 times 3, 15. 5 times 2, 10. 5 times 6, 30. They all end in 0 or 5. You're never going to hear 5 times 7 is 33. Remember, they always end in a 0 or 5. So 5 times 3 is 15. It ends in a 5, so we're all right. Now moving on to 10. 10, basically, you take the number you're multiplying 10 by, add a 0. That's it. 10 times 10, you take the 10, add a 0, 100. 7 times 10, you take the 7, add a 0, and you get your answer 70. 1,000 times 10, you have 1,000, you add the 0, you get 10,000. 23 times 10, you get the 23, you add a 0, you get 230. And that's how you do 10. Now 11 is the easiest when you're doing single digit. For now, we're just going to focus on single digits, so it works every time. For all the numbers from 1 through 9, you basically take the number and write it right next to itself. Like 9 times 11 is 99. 5 times 11 is 55. 2 5s, 2 9s. 3 times 11, 33. 2 3s. So basically, 6 times 11 is going to be 66. So now let's combine all our skills so far to do an example problem. Little Timmy is in the sleeping and eating club with 8 other kids. He wants to get them 10 candies each. He already has 37. How many more will he need? So let's go ahead and try to find our key terms. So we have 8 other kids, 10 candies each. He already has 37. How many more? So these are all our important things. There's 8 other kids, they each get 10 candies, he already has 37. How many more will he need? So looking at many more in each, you see that there's 2 key terms for 2 different things. Many more goes with subtraction and each goes with multiplication. You might be thinking, which one am I going to use? If you're thinking both, then you're right. We're going to use multiplication first and then subtraction. This is an example of a multi-step problem. So let's start with multiplication. So there's 8 other kids and he's getting them 10 candies each. So we're going to do 8 times 10. And remember the tips and tricks that we just went over? For 10, we write the first one and then we add a 0 to get 80. So he needs to have 80 to give away. And then 37. He already has that many. So we're going to subtract 37 because I'm pretty sure then if he gets 80, he's going to have that extra 37 and he's probably going to eat it himself. But his mom probably won't let him do that. Anyways, we want to have exactly 80 in the end. So we're going to subtract 37. So doing this, we first think 0 minus 7. I can't do that, so we're going to carry the 1, which you learned how to do last time. So we're going to borrow one of these ones, make that a 7, make this a 10. 10 minus 7 is 3, 7 minus 3 is 4. So he has to get 43 more candies. And that's our answer. Don't forget to subscribe and like. If you have any questions, you can email info@agoramathcircle.org or comment below and we'll reply back. Maybe. And if you want to see practice things or anything about us, you can visit our website, which is basically the end of the email, but without the info and the end. So bye!